Hello everyone, and welcome back to an episode of Does It Work? A series where I take a sustainable alternative product and put it to the test to see how well it actually works. And today I'm very excited to try this new product. I've seen it advertised on mostly my Instagram, a little bit on my Facebook, a whole bunch, and finally I was like, I need to just see if this works. Because every time I see the ad, it looks like it's going to rip and whatever, let's just get into it. So today I have the silicone lid wrap things. I'll look up the real name and put it right here for you guys. They're basically these silicone lids that are supposed to replace plastic wrap, similar to the beeswax wrap I did in the last episode of this, which I will link down below. Except these are made out of silicone, so they're supposed to last a bit longer than the beeswax wrap and supposed to, they claim, to work better. And in the video you see them stretching them all over the place, and they're supposed to stack, kind of like how Tupperware is able to stack. But you know, we're going to take them out and see how they actually do. So we just pulled them out. A set comes with 6. So the brand I bought comes with 6. We have a nice little coupon for 30% off a next purchase from this company. The company is Earth Cider, and you see that we get 6 different sizes. They're all stuck together. So we have a large one, 2 kind of more, I guess, middle of the range ones, and then, oh wow, they get really small. We get some more here, and then there's a tiny little one. They almost look like really flimsy measuring cups, which is weird. So let's see how much they stretch. Okay, so they do actually stretch pretty far. Ooh, there's immediately cat fur all over it. Okay, so that's a downside. Cat fur immediately clings to the silicone, which is not that surprising because silicone is kind of a rubbery material. So hair, dust, all that gets stuck to it really easily. So just be aware when using this. You got to clean it well and use it often if you don't want dust to form. I'm now going to see how stretchy the smallest one is. And I guess I also want to say I advise you not to do this at home because you don't want to ruin perfectly good products. I'm here testing them out for you so you don't have to. They're actually pretty nice. So now we're going to hop over into the kitchen. I'm going to put these on a bunch of bowls and see how well they do on them and see if I can stack them. Okay, so we're now over in my kitchen, and as you can see, we have a couple different bowls and plates here, and we have all of our silicone lid things right here. And so my biggest concern was I have a lot of these square bowls. So we're gonna see how well they stretch over, how good the seal is, especially around the corners. And no better way to see how it does than to try it. Okay, so it does take a little bit of effort to kind of make sure you have the right sized lid, but once you have it, it does seal quite well, even around the corners. It just kind of forms to the bowl, and as you can hear, it's a nice firm seal and a firm top. But I don't know if you can see, it does have a lot of cat fur and I think some of my hair on it too. So that is something to be aware of, that these are going to kind of get a little hairy, and so if you're like me and got lots of hair, you might have some hair stuck to it, or if you got a cat or a dog that sheds a lot, their hair is probably going to wind up stuck to this too. So be aware and make sure the inside stays clean. The outside probably doesn't matter as much. Now let's try it on one of my smaller square plates. Okay, so I did get it around. I unfortunately did have to use the largest size. So my guess is I'm not going to be able to get one to fit on my much larger plate here. So that is, I consider that a bit of an issue for me because there's usually a lot of food I like to store on plates, and sometimes we might wrap it in foil, sometimes we might do like the beeswax wrap over it, and on rare occasions when we're out of everything, we will use the plastic wrap. And so I was hoping maybe this would be a good alternative, but this was already pretty difficult to get on here, so there's no way I'd be able to put food on the plate and then store it like this. After a couple more days of kind of using the silicone lids actually in practice, I did find it did work on my small plate. I was able to put some meat I was marinating onto the plate, and it did just fine with the wrap over it. So I was wrong about that, and it kind of shows you got to play with these a little more just to see how it'll work, what will work. And it's not going to work for everything, but in this case it did work. So there you go. I have one more bowl that I'm going to try. It's my smallest little bowl that I use usually for dips. If I'm having fries and I don't want it on my plate, I'll put ketchup in this little bowl, but I don't have a lid for this one. So let's see how well the smallest one does with this. Okay, so the smallest one even still is a little big. As you can see, it overlaps a bunch, but you can also see the seal is very strong. So if I were to have sauce in this and I wanted to save it, I don't feel concerned that it would go bad. I feel like this seal is very strong, even though, yeah, this is kind of a tiny little bowl. I'm now kind of off camera. I was setting up a bunch of bowls to test stacking them. And one thing I do want to note, now this might be because of me stretching, or this might just be a problem. So I do want to preface with that. But with this bowl, I think it is actually because it has a rim on it, kind of on the top. You can kind of see, it's like one of those kind of little souffle bowls. It gaps here. And I'm not sure if that's something with the product or it's in part from me stretching, but I'm pretty sure I did not stretch this one. I stretched the smallest one and then the biggest one. And this is one of the in-between ones that I don't think I stretched. So that's another important thing to note. I think it looks like the seal is still pretty strong up top here, but because it has this kind of rim, as it goes away from the rim, it does not seal anymore. Although it is coming off lower, the rim is still sealed very well, and so you shouldn't have issues, but that is something to keep in mind, and we'll just have to see how well it does later on. Okay, so I've now wrapped 3 bowls here, and we are going to see how well they stack. These are empty at the moment, but in a little bit I'm going to put some food in a couple of them. I'm going to shake it around and see how well it does. Just stacking. It does stack how it does in the video. It creates kind of a flat seal, and so they stack pretty well. My guess is if there was more weight in these, it wouldn't stack quite as well and might bend. This is pretty firm. Like, as soon as it tightens, it does create a very tight seal to it, and makes the surface a lot more firm, so it's not going to bend and buck as easily, despite it being very stretchy and flexible. Okay, I think this is going to be the last thing I test out before I kind of give an overall verdict and review of this. I have a bunch of very juicy cantaloupe. We're going to put it into one of these bowls. I'm going to shake it up a ton, and we're going to see if any juice comes flying out. Okay, so I have to stop again because before I could even get the lid on, well, the cantaloupe is already having issues. The inside of the lid has gotten juicy along the rims, and I now can't get the lid on. So if I go, trying to get the lid on over, and it's sliding off pretty much on all corners. And you saw this was the same one I used before on it, and it fit just fine. But now that it actually has food on it, it does not want to stay at all. Oh, I think I got it. And immediately after I got it, it came off. So yeah, that's a big problem, I would say. You can't get food on it, or it doesn't want to stay. And I would say, yeah, that's a pretty big concern for this because it's meant to hold food, and I definitely saw in the ad they have this over a cantaloupe, and that makes me think it probably doesn't even stay that well on the cantaloupe, or if you do want to use it, you have to be very careful not to get the food on it, which again, it's meant to store food. Why wouldn't you get food on this? Okay, I think I've tested these a couple different ways. I've done a bunch of the things they did in the ad, and now we're gonna head back over to my couch and I'll give my final verdict on this. Okay, some quick final thoughts. So to review everything I kind of discussed throughout the video, these are silicone lids, which are better for the environment because unlike plastic, it has less chemicals in it, it is made in a much more sustainable way, and it lasts longer than plastic. It can also be made to be flexible, so it's very durable and you can use it in a lot of different ways, in ways that plastic isn't really good for. With these particular lids, they were clearly very stretched. In the ad, you saw them stretching them different ways, and I probably pushed them way more to the limit than they did, and they did not rip or break or anything, so that is a huge plus. They do seal around odd-shaped containers. Like I said, I have a lot of square bowls, I have the square plates, and it did fit around the bowl just fine, and it did fit around my smaller plate. It did have a problem with the bigger plate, but most likely because it is square, and if you have round plates, it will probably work just fine. Another kind of little issue I found is cat fur kind of sticks to them a lot, and my hair definitely sticks to them a lot, and this is in part because of how the material is, so that's something to keep in mind if you use these. They're probably going to get furry and dusty and will need to be cleaned fairly often, both before and after you use them. With kind of smaller bowls, they work well, and with larger bowls, they still work well. You just got to pick your size as well for which one you want. Even if the bowl has a rim, it still creates a good seal, but you will see kind of separation between the bowl and the lid farther down. But the important part is that at the rim, it has a good seal, so it should still keep your food fresh. You kind of may have also seen they were a bit of a challenge to get on some of my bowls and plates. That's in part because they're round and my bowls and plates are not round, so that's just part of the issue. But because they're very stretchy, once you get them on, it does form a good seal, and it doesn't take that much extra work. I don't know about you, but I'm not so great at ripping plastic wrap or foil out from the box, so it's usually just as much of a struggle to get stuff wrapped in those as it was getting wrapped in silicone. The only difference is this is, of course, the more sustainable option. Another thing to note, probably the biggest problem I had, was as soon as I got juice from my cantaloupe on it, it did not want to create a good seal. So if you want to use these, you got to be careful not to get them wet or juicy, and make sure you wrap it around it before it gets covered and stuff. Otherwise, it's not going to create a good seal, especially on bowls. It might do better on fruits and vegetables. Unfortunately, today I did not have any to test on, but you see in the advertisement, they put the lids directly onto fruits and vegetables to preserve it, and that's something that might have to be tested by you guys, and I will see in the future as I use these how well it does on that. But as of right now, from what I've seen, as soon as it covers in fruit juice, it becomes too wet and it does not create a seal, which is a big problem because they're meant to store food. But despite the problems it did have, I still think this is a pretty good product. It is a good sustainable alternative, and it does have its drawbacks. That's just reality. No matter what product you use, whether it's sustainable or non-sustainable, it's going to have a few drawbacks or issues, and this one does. Primarily the issues with fur and hair getting stuck to it, and issues with when it is wet, it does not seal as well. The reason why I still think it's a good product is because these can easily be worked around. It just means you have to clean them a little bit extra, which is unfortunate, but is a small price to pay to live more sustainably and enjoy the more sustainable product. You can also get around the wet and juice problem by just making sure they're very dry when you use them. That also means when you go to wrap different foods in bowls, make sure that you do it properly and are able to get around the bowl without the lid touching the actual food, which can be difficult and means you might have to work with different bowl sizes or multiple bowls to store everything that you need with these lids. Also, from a price point, they weren't priced that bad. I got 6 of them for 20 bucks, and they do have a couple different sales usually going on. And I also got a nice 30% coupon from Earthsider's store, which is cool because they do have a lot of neat different products that I will definitely like to try. Some other important points I think I may have missed in my video: these are also dishwasher safe, and you can use them in the microwave without worrying about chemicals leaching into them, because that's a big problem with using plastic in the microwave. A lot of them will start to leach chemicals into your food when you use them in the microwave, but the silicone lids do not. So in my book, I give it a thumbs up. It does what it's supposed to as long as you use it properly. It does have a few drawbacks which can affect how you use it and might mean you have to change how you wrap food a little bit when using them. But overall, they're fairly cheap, they seem to do the job, and they're more sustainable. So since they check all those boxes, I'd have to say, yes, go ahead and try them. See how well they work for you. I'm going to continue to use them to see if how well my food does and how well actually storing food does with them. With that, I think that is about all the time I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to leave a like down below so I know, and make sure to subscribe to join the journey to living more sustainably. If you'd like to keep up with my own journey to living more sustainably in between uploads, you can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, which are all linked down below. Thank you again so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.